나왔어요?
근데 잠깐 사무장님 지금
네.
예.
네, 스님 얼굴, 네네.
질문 에디케이션.
예. I think, yeah, you emphasize that by cleaning our mind, we make our mind and body to one. And then at that state, yeah, we can recognize the audience or other people's mind. So with that kind of preaching or doing something, we can get exact our purpose for them. My question, my expression is right. Your for your preach.
I'm not quite sure I understand what your question is.
Before entrusting others, we should make ourselves concrete, right? That kind of concrete mind or steady state mind could be erected or built up by our clean mind. That situation should be the first condition or the first starting point, right?
I think there might be some problems in that expression that because I wouldn't worry too much about my mind versus other people's mind, because you sort of treading on the aspect of duality, or them, or they are separate from me, and that's a place you don't really want to go, because the point of spiritual practice is to realize our connection, our inherent connection with everybody. And so, you know, as part of my spiritual practice, I need to be working at overcoming those distinctions. And not reinforcing them. I mean, what was the example that occurred to me?
You mean know yourself first, right?
Well, that's. I mean, there is certainly an aspect of not worrying too much about what other people are doing. Right. You know, correcting other people's behavior isn't really what we're supposed to be doing, and it isn't very helpful. I mean, the thing I can work with, what do I have in front of me to work with, is my own behavior, right? Is my own thoughts. And because a lot of times worrying about other people's behavior or other people's actions or other people's practice is a way of actually avoiding my own, dealing with my own stuff. And so I wouldn't say, I'd be careful about saying, oh, myself versus others, or building my foundation versus others, but just dealing with what's in front of me. If it's somebody I'm living with, if it's somebody I'm working with, then that's part of what I need to work on, right? Because I have an interaction with them. You know, we have a connection, and we do something, and there's something that arises, and I let go of that. And just taking care of what's here. What am I feeling? What am I experiencing? What's the, I mean, because, you know, how many people see their own nose, right? If you look, you can't act, I can see my own nose, and I can see everybody else's nose, but I never see my own nose.
Mhm.
And so it gets really easy to talk about everybody else's nose. But the fact is, you know, my own habits, my own instant responses to how to do something are really hard to see. They're really hard to change that habit. And when I work on entrusting everything that comes up, even the things I think I'm doing right, entrust those. Even the things that don't feel like they're going well, entrust those. And then what happens is the barrier between myself and others begins to fade away. And there may come a time when, just for a moment or permanently, I suddenly understand what other people are doing. I understand why they did that. Even if they're doing something bad, I feel that as if it was my own, as if it was my own child or my own friend or my own lover or whatever. You know, that level of connection. Because if you see for most true adults, if you see your kids doing something terrible, you may feel embarrassed, right? But you also want them to not do that, because it's just, oh, this is not a good thing. This is going to hurt you. It's going to hurt other people. But you don't attack your child, right? You know, most mature adults, and I'll assume that if everybody's here, they're a mature adult, they don't start screaming at their kids and saying, how could you be so stupid, right? Because it's like, oh, no, don't do that, you know, please behave better. But okay, let's move on to the next question. Yes.
You said Buddha said, and Venerable Kyungho said, see the Buddha nature and find your own Buddha nature.
Right.
How can you explain in simple words how we can see our Buddha nature? And also one more thing I wanted, I couldn't follow the calming echoes. And can you explain more?
Oh, okay.
Also, another one is being bright on myself. You told being bright. Can you can you say a little bit more examples? Thank you.
Okay. Well, the thing about Buddha nature, the thing about this inherent oneness, it's always there, right? It's, this is why this is an example we use. It's always shining. If you drive up in the mountains on a cloudy day, on some day, or well, if you take a plane ride on a cloudy day, right? Once the plane goes up through the clouds, all of a sudden the sun is out. And most people, if you've ridden on a plane, sometimes you've had this experience where it was gray and rainy and just ugly and terrible. And all of a sudden you pop up above the clouds and it's so bright and it's so sunny. And even the clouds look beautiful. The clouds look white. They don't look dark anymore. This is our Buddha nature. It's always there, but we don't see it because it's like we're supposed to be looking at the whole. We're supposed to be looking at the connection between everything. But so many of the habits we have are the opposite of that. They're like looking for the division, looking for the separate thing. Thinking that, just this habit of thinking that, things are separate. I am separate. And because these habits have lasted more than one lifetime, right? These habits for millions of years, we've developed these habits. And I think these habits, they helped us when we were animals, right? They helped us at some level of our development. But to continue developing, to move, it's like learning all the skills of elementary school, right? Well, when you get to high school, you need different skills. But the skills in elementary school were so helpful.
Yeah, true.
We want to keep using those skills even though we're in high school.
The most basic skills.
Yeah. And people keep, and then you're like, oh, why is everything so hard? Why do people keep yelling at me? How come nothing's working? And I'm trying to use the skills from the wrong time when I need to go forward. And so, at some point in your life, you need to stand up for yourself, right? Everybody's, like I said, everybody's a little bit older. And so you've got hopefully, have gotten to that point where you can stand up for yourself and say, what I need, right? That's an important skill. One of the things about me when I became a Sunim is that I felt really bad about disappointing my parents. But I knew that if I didn't take the chance to study spiritual practice and come to Korea, then even though I was keeping my parents happy, it would have felt like I was just slowly dying inside. So for myself, I had to say, I need this. So we need this ability to stand up for ourselves and say what we need.
You mean I take in charge of myself and my own will, like that kind of.
Exactly. That's a necessary skill. But too much of that, just the definition of a psychopath is somebody who doesn't see other people as people. It's weird, but other people, if I'm a psychopath and you hurt, I don't care. If I can, so like Sagigun, right? If I can take all of your money, if I take all of your life savings right now, I'm like, whoo, I got lots of money. And what happens to you though, right? Somebody who lost all their money, what happens to them?
Helpless.
It's terrible. But if you have any sense of connection with people, you're like, how could I do something so terrible?
Yeah, you can't do that.
But the more people go one direction or the other, the worse it becomes. So the more I cheat you, the less I feel that. And the more, and you know, because ingwasang, karma, you know, cause and effect exists, they're making a lot of pain for themselves. But so brightening my Buddha nature, or seeing my Buddha nature. So seeing my Buddha nature again is letting go of these dualistic thoughts, right? I am, I did, I want, I am like this. There's nothing wrong with the statement, I am like this. I am sick. I feel good. I feel bad. I feel happy. Oh, he makes me so angry, right? Fundamentally, there's nothing wrong with that. But it becomes a habit that we keep repeating. Like, if we want to see our Buddha nature, we have to let go of discriminations between ourselves and others. If we blame other people, one of the things about blaming other people is it's his fault. When I say that, I'm saying unconsciously as well, I'm saying he did it, not me. Well, something terrible may be, somebody else may have done it, but there was a connection, there was a whole, right? I wasn't separate from that when that was happening. And when I blame someone else, I'm saying I was separate.
So we are living in one field.
Yep. One big swimming pool.
Mm-hmm.
And so seeing my Buddha nature is letting go of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Taking care of yourself, right? But at the same time, trying, because if you've done meditation and you look at the thoughts that arise,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's shocking to realize how many weird thoughts you have. It's like, why am I thinking about this? How long have I spent thinking about a peanut butter sandwich? Or something completely weird. And it's just, the thought keeps going over and over and over. And, you say, okay, stop. Just stop, relax. Stop giving that energy and just let it sink back down and let it dissolve. And that's what these thoughts, these actions that keep coming back out, that's what we call karmic consciousnesses, opshik, right? Karmic states of consciousness. Because where does karma come from? To make things simple, we talk about not mawang, yama. The judge after you die. What's that in Korean?
염라대왕.
Yeah. Well, 업경대 보고, right? But see, the idea of 업경대, mirror of karma, is really cool because you're looking at yourself. Well, they're telling you your karma isn't in a big book somewhere else. Your karma is the consciousnesses within you that make up you.
Yes.
And so nobody else judges you. You judge yourself.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Sunim,
Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
Can you read the lines on chatting board?
Yes, now I can.
Yeah, I strongly agree with your Dharma talk. Brighten your mind is the best propagation.
Uh-huh.
And individually, we can try to brighten our mind, but
Right.
collectively, as a human beings, I think we can do something other than individual level. What do you think of socially engaged Buddhism, and how can we help Myanmar, Burmese people in suffering?
Well, there's no magic answer for that one. On the one hand, right, individually, if people entrust the idea, okay, may they live with wisdom, may they live brightly, may they discover their inherent Buddha nature, and entrust that, that has an effect, right? Can you imagine if millions of people were entrusting the idea, everybody in the US should wear a mask. Let's entrust that idea. but no, that does have an effect. That is the more you can get in touch, the more you can connect with this fundamental light we have, right? The more you're aware of that. So like if somebody's very, very deeply aware, and they just in Korean we say 한생각 내다, right? It's not a thought from the intellect. It's this energy of them connecting with others, and a thought arises, something should be like this. And if like in Korea we have sansa or awakened people sometimes, but if somebody who's very deep like that has that kind of thought, then it manifests. It happens in the world. But so socially, individually, they're on the physical side. There's just helping people in Myanmar. Like here in Korea, there's a lot of people from Myanmar. Helping them, making sure if they need support or if they need just donations or something. Petitioning the government so they don't get deported back to Myanmar, right? I mean, that's obviously something we can support and is probably a good idea. On the whole, boy, it's you hope for a good outcome, right? Because we don't know. It's so hard for me to say anything because we don't know what their karma is. We don't know what has led to this. What was it like last year this time, year and a half ago this time, they were persecuting the Muslim minority, the Rohingyas.
Yes.
Yeah, Rohingya.
Yeah, and are they Muslims?
Yeah, that's right. Muslim.
Minor Muslim.
Okay, and so many people died. They starved to death, or they tried to sail to Thailand and died on the way, or they were driven from their homes and lived in basically camps, refugee camps somewhere. And is the current hardship the outcome of that, the karmic outcome of that? I don't know. So it could be. The thing about spiritual practice is that everybody has their path. Why is that happening to them? I don't know. Looking at one of the things about America that bothered me was so many Iraqis and Afghans died unnecessarily in the wars after 9/11. Almost 20 years of war there. And undoubtedly some people showed up to fight and they were trying to kill somebody else and they got killed. you know, what's the karma there? I don't know. I was trying to kill him and he killed me. So is that, how much of a thing is that? But aside from that, there were a lot of civilians who suffered and probably still suffering. And as somebody who was born in America, I'm kind of going, oh, this is not good. And now, of course, we have the coronavirus, right? And it's hit America really hard. I mean, right now, I think we probably have over 600,000 people dead in America from the coronavirus. 60만 명. That's crazy. Those numbers are so high. That's more than World War II. And people in America are kind of like, well, I have to go shopping. I don't want to wear a mask. And it's like, it's like, have you been poisoned? Is there something in the air that's making you not think clearly? And, is it this bad karma? Is it this harmful karma? And it's so hard to say, because you can't say, oh, this is a bad person, therefore they died, because lots of people seem like quite nice people. And, what's going on? And I honestly don't know. So we talk about socially engaged stuff. Different countries, different people also have their own karma that's going on, and we don't know what it is.
Maybe
It's not, somebody asked, I only heard this one time, American Indians, right?
Oh.
They usually live in very poor places, very sad social groups, too much drinking, too much poverty, and it hasn't changed in 100 years now. Hasn't changed much. And one time somebody asked the Hingsunim, how come the American Indians are having such a hard time? And she said so quietly, you almost couldn't hear her. Like she didn't want to say it very much. And she said, it's because they didn't keep the precepts. Right? 개유 지키지 않아서 그래요.
아닌 것 같아.
Well, but no, if she said it, but see, that's the thing though, because you remember the example I gave about stealing the neighbor's food? That was a fact of life in many of the North American Indian tribes, where, they're not our tribe, they're not 우리끼리 아니니까 저기 가서 식량 다 훔치고 죽이고 식량 훔치고. That happened a lot. Now, as practitioners, the most dangerous thing we can say is, oh, it's their fault. They behave badly.
No.
Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But we just don't know what's going on. You can raise this intention and trust this intention. But there's also other stuff going on here. Just be aware of that. So we can't, this is the, in Korean, 중세계, right? And its job is to be a sorting ground, to sift people, give people a chance to decide if they want to go to higher realms or go to lower realms.
No.
And a lot of, and it's up to people. It's how they use their mind that determines where we go, what happens next. I have digressed so much. But so anyway, don't blame other people, but know that there's more going on. And just unconditionally, even if you think they deserve it, even if you think they don't deserve it, unconditionally entrust the idea that they should be well, that they should live with wisdom, they should live brightly. spoke so long on that one.
Thank you very much, Sunim.
Sunim, as you said before, we cannot see our own news, but we focus on the others' mistake, others' news so much. And then your words that reminds me of sixth platform written by 법회 Sunim, the followers of Hanmaum Sunim, the sixth patriarch. And then the Hanmaum Sunim said, I focus, I much care about my mistake. And then when other made a mistake a lot, it is also my mistake. So why don't you try to take others' mistake as your own mistake instead of you try to their mistake they are my family. So people you don't know, even though you don't know, you try to take their mistake as a son's mistake or brother's mistake and so on. But why don't you take your own mistake? Different?
No. He's talking. I think I'm a little bit without looking at exactly what the context was. It sounds like, I mean, because if you truly feel that other people are yourself, then how could you do anything else, right? That's their pain is your pain.
Yes.
Seeing them stumble is like, feels like my own child stumbling. And so, yeah.
I try too, but I cannot.
Well, I mean, sometimes a lot of times when we can't let go of a particular feeling or thought about somebody else, a lot of times there's an unaware, what's the word for it? There's an assumption that we're unaware of. Unconsciously, we're thinking he should be doing it like this, or somebody who does his job should do their job like this, and they're not doing it that way, and I'm angry about it. And we see that I'm angry about it, but we don't notice the unconscious assumption that why I'm angry about it, because I am expecting him to be functioning at this level, and he's not doing that, and it's like, and so usually when we're having a hard time letting go of something, or you let go of it and 3 seconds later it pops back up, that's usually because there's an assumption going on like that. And so all you can do is just keep trying to let go of it, and it's really annoying when it keeps popping back up every 30 seconds. But,
especially my son. I cannot control myself to my son.
Controlling myself is the first one, right?
Well, but see, and right there, then I'll bet you there's an assumption about how a son should behave. That you're not. It's like something you're. It's there, but you don't see it ever. A son should behave like this, or a son should listen to his mom, right? He should be doing it this way.
Yes.
And it's
exactly.
It's like in English, subconscious, right? Below the level of conscious, but it's there. It's just kind of churning around. And when he doesn't do that, then it's like, ah. And so part of it, so sometimes if you can find that assumption and let go of that assumption, then it makes life a lot easier. But it's usually the last stage is when you see that assumption. Until then, you have to just try to unconditionally keep letting go. And so sometimes, I also used to behave like that when I didn't know any better, right? Or that's another shape of myself. One time for me, I was really frustrated with another Sunim, and I was walking by the Bokdang, and they were having a Jesa, I think, and I heard a line, and I don't think I heard it right, but it sounded like it said, "All minds in my mind are one mind." And as soon as I thought that to myself, I could let go of my anger at him. But that was a funny. So this was 20. Oh my gosh, this was 27 or 20. Oh my gosh, I'm so old. This was 27 years ago.
Wow, 27 years ago.
Oh my gosh, it was so long ago.
Wow.
So our Bigu Snims went down to Ulsan to get a new bongo cha. Right? I don't remember why we went to Ulsan instead of just picking up locally, but we went to Ulsan, we got a new bongo cha. And on the way back, the Sunim who was driving it drove about 120 kilometers an hour the whole way from Ulsan to Chungcheongbuk-do. And it was scary as heck because the bongo-chas weren't meant to go that fast. It felt like, like a beer can on wheels, like, and you're roaring up there. And it was a brand new car, right? Like just out of the factory. Especially in the older, at that time, you didn't want to run an engine too hot because, the pistons go up and down. And if they get too hot, it burns the edge off the walls. And so they lose power pretty quickly because there's a gap there now. And so, but they drove like that, and so like 4.5 hours from Ulsan. It's just like, I was scared the whole time. And the next day I was still annoyed. I was still kind of angry. I was angry at him. And I had to go down to Munmangu, pick up some books.
Stationery store.
Yeah.
Pick up some blank books and some pins and stuff. And I was driving a little truck, and I got out to the main road, and I looked down, and there were 2 buses going up the hill. And I looked up the hill, and there were no cars, a big long road. And the buses went by, and I started to pull out. So I was pulling out to go downhill. And just something made me say, look again. And there was a dump truck. There was a big truck loaded with dirt coming right down the hill. I was about to pull right in front of him, and he was going 60, 70 kilometers an hour, and he could never stop, right? Because 10 tons, 15 tons, maybe. And just in my head, there was an image of the uphill lane, and there were no cars after the buses. So I pulled onto the upcoming lane, and the dump truck just shot past me with the brakes and the squealing. And he finally stopped, and he jumped out, and he was shaking his fist at me because he was scared. And I was like, sorry. I went down to Mumbangu and I came back and I heard that in the Bokdang, all minds in my mind are one mind. Now, I don't know, but I think maybe it was this anger I had that was coming back, that was creating something unhealthy. Because I looked up the hill and I didn't see any trucks, but that truck had to be there. And that anger was blinding me and almost got me killed.
Right.
But apparently I had enough good karma to avoid it. But no, it was kind of like, throwing out that kind of anger, throwing out that kind of strong emotion causes problems. It disturbs things. And so we really need to, as much as possible, either through, I also used to behave like that when I didn't know any better. We need to find that connection. My son may be misbehaving now, but I think he's a good person. And at some point, maybe later in his life, he'll settle down. Or, I've seen this a lot where mom thinks he should go this way.
Yes.
But it turns out there's another path that will work just fine for him. Because I went to school at Yonsei-dae, and I went to, I was just going to the Ohakdang, but I went to go give a Dharma talk in Kongju at the I don't remember what university, the University of Kongju or something, I don't know, to the Bugyo Dongari. And it was so funny because, obviously Kongju Dehak is not sky, right? But all the students looked happy. At Yonsei, they're all like, and it was like, so even if somebody went to Kongju Dehak instead of Yonsei Dehak, for some people that may be a much better choice. That may be a much healthier choice. Where too much pressure is bad, it damages some people. And so what's the best path for him to grow? And it's like we don't see that. Sometimes we can see that, but most of the time we can't see that. You just have to, you're taking steps in the dark without seeing the road. We really are. So we're just entrusting and saying, okay, Buddha, okay, Dharma, Buddha nature, I'll take the steps. You make sure that the direction is right. And so I think your son will turn out fine, but it may not be what you expected.
Thank you.
Other questions? Yes.
Thank you for your talking. I heard you are highly influenced by Venerable Daeheng Sunim, and you are now involved in Hanmaum Sonan. What is the difference between Daeheng Sun and Sun? We usually say difference.
I can't say it's a little bit, because I don't know if you can really express it that way, because if you look at 20 different consonants, right, they'll all have different styles. They'll all have different, slightly different approaches. If you have anybody who has really had a deep taste of this light, this Buddha nature, is probably going to have a different expression of it, have a different, because their background is different. You know, how deep was their experience? How transforming was it? And so it's all going to be a little bit different. It's all, you know, Chong Go Desa was very different than Chong Go Sunim, right? And so it's more a matter of finding what works for you. What's the best connection for you? The thing about Deheng Sunim is that she always she was very much. I'm reluctant to now. Somehow I'm a little bit scared to try to describe somebody above my level. But jungle.
Yes, I can understand your point.
Well,
I can understand your point. Yes.
The thing was she realized she could do a lot of different things to help people. Right. When she first was living in the mountains, people would bring her their problems and say, "Oh, I have this problem." And just because she instantly connected with him, that energy flowed back and forth, their problem tended to go away. Well, the issue was that the next time they had a problem, they had to go see her. Right? So they would have another problem, and my husband's sick, my child's sick, my cow is sick. And they would go see her, and it would get better, and they'd be fine until the next time. Well, this was exactly the same situation as a parent who worries about, well, what happens if I'm not here, right? And so what she realized was people needed to know about their own inner light. She clearly saw everybody has this bright light within them. It's not, they may not see it, but they all clearly have it. So I think one of the things that she found frustrating was, especially with women at that time, there was much more, I'm just a Jungseng, right? What's your name? Chosu Eoma. It's like, no, what's your name? My name is Chosu Eoma. And it's like, 나는 불성하고 나는 아무것도 아니다, right? I'm nothing. And she's like, no, you're not nothing. I see the same light in you that everybody else has. You have the same connection. And so her goal was to get people to discover that for themselves, to get people to learn to rely upon that, to get people to, to find, in a way, people use the word compass, right? Napchinpan. To find your own compass, to find not just your compass, but to find your own energy, to find your own wall socket, as it were. You have this energy, you have this potential, but I can tell you about it, I can help you, but if you're going to go forward life after life, finding your way forward, you need to know it for yourself. And so trying to help people find it for themselves was her focus. And there was a quote from Haenung Desa. And the Heng Sunim said was a lot like that, where Haenung Desa said, I don't teach anything, right? I just untie knots. And in a lot of ways, that's a lot of what the Deheng Sunim was doing, was helping people with some knot. helping them get past something they weren't seeing, or get past some issue that was keeping them from becoming aware of this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
So, other questions? Okay. Well, let me just wrap up then by saying it's been wonderful to see everybody, but you all have this bright light within you. This is what shows us the way forward. This is what gives us the energy to transform ourselves. And so take all the stuff you learn, take all of the stuff you're doing, and as you do it, entrust it here. As you do it, like I said, we are in a very real way walking into the dark. We're walking on emptiness, right? We don't see where the next step is, and trying to grasp the next step isn't really helpful. But make this Buddha nature, make this bright light your foundation. And even though you can't see it, it's there. If you keep entrusting everything that keeps coming up, the things you're feeling, the things you're experiencing, keep entrusting everything here, and you'll find your way forward. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for giving us a wonderful Dharma talk. Let's bow to Venerable Chong Go Sunim 3 times. Next, we will have time for Shakyamuni Buddha chanting. Next, we close the Dhamma talk with the 4 great vows. I will read first and repeat after me. I vow to save all.
I vow to save all beings.
I vow to save all beings.
I vow to end all sufferings.
I vow to end all suffering.
I vow to learn all Dharma teachings.
I vow to learn all Dharma teachings.
I vow to attain enlightenment.
I
vow to attain enlightenment.
Now we conclude today's Dharma talk. Thank you very much for joining us today. We hope to see you all again.
Very, very
We will train Buddha.
Bhutan.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Chong Go Sunim. Thank you very much.
감사합니다. 청고스님 감사합니다.
Thank you very
네,
much.
감사합니다.
고맙습니다.
Thank you.
Thank you.
사무장님 수고 많으셨습니다.
예, 수고 많으셨습니다.
네, 수고하셨습니다.
그럼 예, 그럼 회의 종료하겠습니다. 안녕히 계세요.
예, 수고하셨습니다.